Folks, this is Book Talk with Corbin, and I'm your host, and we have with us a returning guest, Brigitte Gabriel. As most of you know, most of my longtime listeners know, she's a national security analyst, New York Times bestselling author, and chairman of ActForAmerica.org. And her latest book is Rise, and it's a bestseller already. We're going to talk to her today about the whole, well, as much as we can, about the whole situation in Afghanistan, the Biden administration, etc., and ask her a couple of questions about national security, if that impacts America's national security. But before we do that, I wanted to read from her book, Because They Hate. This was published back in 2006. This is a quote: "Their grievance is our democratic process. Islamic religious authorities and terrorist leaders repeatedly state they will destroy the United States and Western civilization. Unless we take them at their word and defend ourselves, they will succeed." Sister Gabriel, do you believe those words apply to what has recently happened in Afghanistan as far as the takeover of that country by the Taliban and the rather unceremonious withdrawal of the United States Armed Forces?
You mean the total failure and the botched operation of our withdrawal out of enemy land, Afghanistan, where after 20 years of blood, sweat, our tax dollars, the precious lives that were lost of our soldiers and service members who died, the grievance of families who mourned their death, that our government left still underestimating our enemy, not understanding our enemy, and not taking our enemy at their word. The Taliban have not changed their stripes. They are still doing what they did 20 years ago. They are killing people. We just saw a few days ago where they took our helicopters and they were doing public hanging, using our helicopters to hang informant and fly over towns with them to show what they do to their, what they consider traitors. They killed a comedian yesterday just because they do not believe in music or fun or entertainment. They are killing women. So the Taliban that we're looking at today, the terrorist state that has officially become not just a terrorist organization, but a terrorist state, they have not changed their tunes. We just have become more ignorant, more ill-informed, more politically correct, more political in general, and we are putting our insider politics in America between left and right before protecting the country.
Now, what you just said there about we're putting, this whole political correctness, woke stuff before national interest. Is this something that's recently happened, or has it been developing over the past few years?
It has been developing over the last 20 years. If you look back, Corbin, when you think of September 11th, on that day in 2001, the whole nation was united. We all were one. Americans could not help themselves but fly their flags on anywhere they can stick a flag on the front of their car, on the windows of their car, in front of their homes, wearing American flag outfits. I had an American flag jacket that I wore everywhere in the wintertime, and people would stop me and ask me, where did you buy this jacket? We were united as one. Who can forget the image of our elected officials, members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, standing on the steps of the Capitol Hill, singing "God Bless America." On that day, there was no politics. There was no religion. There was no skin color. There was no backgrounds. We were all united as one. Out of many, we were one. That was what America was all about. Unfortunately, couple years, it didn't take really that much. By 2003, 2004, all of a sudden the national security issue all of a sudden became a Republican issue, not a Democratic issue. All of a sudden, anybody who started speaking about radical Islamic terrorism was being labeled as an Islamophobe, as somebody on the right. We saw that phenomena become terribly worse under Obama. Up until Obama won the presidency, people like me and national security analysts were able to speak at military installations. I remember doing many training to officers who were leaving to Afghanistan and Iraq to understand the mentality of a suicide bomber. And what was driving them. The Pentagon did studies about the ideology of radical Islamic terrorism. And all of a sudden, people like me and tens of others who were experts in our field became persona non grata at the FBI, at military installation, at military bases, at the Pentagon. And once Obama became president, none of us were allowed. By 2009, me and all my colleagues were not allowed or permitted to speak at any military training. Our books were banned. Our material or any material that identified our enemies were banned. And that's when we started seeing truly the change. All of a sudden, the enemy became welcome at the White House and at the Pentagon. All of a sudden, organizations like CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest terrorism funding trial in the history of the United States, became the go-to expert to consult with them on Islamic terrorism. So it was like the fox watching the henhouse. And so by the time President Trump got elected, the national security issue and any defense issue became a radical right-wing issue. Nobody wanted to listen after that. And that's how you end up with where we are today. One bad decision after another, the blind leading the blind. Everybody wanted to believe in all things, hope for all things, believe in anything that our enemy says. And obviously we underestimated them. We could have seen this coming and we could have saved our standing in the world. We could have saved the lives of many people who died, like our Marines who died because of the attacks in Afghanistan, as well as the others who are now being slaughtered as you and I are speaking and our listeners are listening.
Yes. Folks, this is Book Talk with Corbin. I'm your host. We have with us Brigitte Gabriel, national security analyst, a New York Times bestselling author, and her latest and chairman of ActForAmerica.org. Now, Ms. Gabriel, we can get your book there at ActForAmerica.org. Is that correct?
Correct. People can go to our website, actforamerica.org, and get the book for a tax-deductible donation. Not only you'll be able to help the cause, but you'll get a tax-deductible donation, much better than getting it through Amazon or anywhere else. And we want people to go to our website, actforamerica.org. I started the organization, Corbin, because I wanted to empower people who loved America as much as I do, who feel so blessed by all the wonderful things this country has to offer. Look, we're not perfect. We have our own problems. Just like a human, nobody is perfect. As long as we are a part of this world, we are not perfect. But you know what? Last time I checked, America was still better than many other places across the world where you can live. People flock to America for a reason. So I started Act for America for people who want to be more informed about what's happening in the country and how they can make a difference. So I encourage people to go to actforamerica.org, sign up to get our action alerts and our emails. They're free. It doesn't cost you anything. We want to be able to reach you when there's an important bill coming down for a vote, whether in your state or on the federal level, so you can make your voice heard.
One last question here, and it may sound a little silly, but not only are we seeing, as you put out, Afghanis being murdered, and possibility of some Americans being left behind, and talk about a substantial amount of U.S. military hardware being left behind, now controlled by the Taliban. Do you believe, given your expertise, do you believe that this new Taliban state poses any sort of significant threat to the country's national security?
What a great question. Absolutely, they do. And here is why. We started hearing a lot of chatter, jihadi chatter, new jihadists setting up new social media sites, new social media accounts, talking about how they want to celebrate this victory of jihad and how they all want to go to Afghanistan to become a part of this great Islamic revolution where they want to export their ideology and their jihad worldwide. So they believe that Allah has blessed the faithful because of their faithfulness. And they believe that since they believe that America is a great Satan, they believe America must be destroyed at all costs. We know that the Taliban are committed to our destruction. We know that they opened up the prison doors and released all Al-Qaeda, lethal, terrible Al-Qaeda and ISIS members who were locked up in prison in Kabul. They released them all. And we believe, and actually they named their state the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which is the name of the Taliban government 20 years ago, the same Talibans that we went and defeated back in 2001. So, they did not change their stripes. I believe that Afghanistan will become the new epicenter of jihad, where jihadists are going to be able to plot terrorist attacks against America and Western interests, not just in the United States, but our interests across the globe and our people. And they'll be able to do it unchecked because we will have no way of gathering intelligence. We have no human informants on the ground anymore. And we cannot get any new ones because the Afghans have no reason to trust us. After all, we betrayed them. We threw them under the bus. And at this point, no one is going to trust America to work with America. There's no financial interest in it. There's no interest whatsoever. So we will not be able to know and get heads up on terrorist plots they may be plotting to foil them before they happen, or at least warn our people. So the threat is real. The threat is greater than when we started back in the year 2000 or 1999. We are in a much graver danger today than we were 20 years ago.
This is Brigitte Gabriel, national security analyst, best-selling New York Times best-selling author, chairman of actforamerica.org. This is my last question. Let's pretend you have 3 minutes with President Biden and his senior advisors. What would you say to him about Afghanistan? What he must do or must not do? I mean, what would you say? You got 3 minutes.
The first thing I will say to him, Mr. Biden, I respect you as a president, and I respect the office of the President of the United States. Please resign. We need someone who has all his marbles and is sharp enough and energetic enough to be able to work and make the right decisions for our country. You served our country for a long time. Now it's about time for you to move over. Now, Corbin, I don't agree with President Biden, and I do not agree with his cabinets. I believe they are incompetent. I believe they are blinded. And I'm speaking as a national security analyst. This has nothing to do with where I stand politically. I would say the same thing if I would have landed in the United States today. I was speaking with my informants in the Middle East this morning before I even came on this interview. They are laughing at the United States. They already know of the plots that are now rising against the United States. Our enemies are laughing at us. Our allies have no respect for us. Our enemies do not fear us. And I believe we need new leadership. Now, whether that leadership is Democrat or Republican, we need a leadership that will take care of our people, that will protect our citizens, that will bring America's name back to be respected worldwide, that will ensure the safety and security of all Americans. So I would say, Mr. Biden, you made a grave mistake that will reshape history for decades to come, not just years to come. You need to move aside, and you need to make way for people who are going to make the right decisions by this country and correct course. That's what I will say to Mr. Biden. As for the rest of the military brass who failed miserably and botched this operation, I say to them, shame on you for putting critical race theory, for putting transgender rights, for putting gay rights, for teaching the military that man can give birth instead of teaching the military how to win wars. It's about time we face our own mistakes and we get out of our own way for the betterment of the future of America and for the sake of our children and their grandchildren. It may not happen in our lifetime, where America can get back to be the superpower of the world, respected worldwide, but for the sake of our children and grandchildren, so they may grow up in a country that gives them freedom to express their opinion, that gives them freedom of opportunity to become millionaires and gazillionaires and achieve the American dream, to be able to travel anywhere in the world where their head is held high without fear of being killed or assassinated for being the filthy Americans. This is what we owe our children and grandchildren. We were so blessed in this country to be able to live right now and experience America as great as it is, and travel as Americans and be proud to carry an American passport worldwide. We need to bring that America back. And in order for us to bring that America back, we need to get rid of the whole incompetent, senile Biden administration and all his advisors, and bring people back, whether Democrats or Republicans, who will put America and the American people first. Those are the people that we need in this country right now.
That's it. That's the best way to conclude. That's it. There's nothing more you can say on that. This is Book Talk with Corbin. We're going to conclude here. We just had a fantastic interview with Brigitte Gabriel, national security analyst, New York Times bestselling author, and chairman of act4america.org. It is at that website you can get her many books. And let me tell you, I've read her book, Because They Hate, and it really it changed me in many ways.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's my life story. I know we did not get into it now, but I encourage people, if you're going to read one book, get my book, Because They Hate. Yeah. So you understand where my passion comes from and why we need to save our country. And you can get that book from Amazon. It's in paperback. You can get it from our website. But I encourage you to read it and share it with everyone you know.
Yes, yes. I personally rank that book right up there with other classics like Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington. Miss Gabriel, thank you for coming on. We hope we can do this again.
Thank you so much. It's been my honor. Thank you.